Hi, I am Tori,
Hi, Martin.
I'm
I
Diego.
am sorry. I'm Amanda.
and we are going to be talking about the Schindler's List scene, The Girl in Red.
Hi. Well, I think first needs to be addressed the most obvious part of the mise en scène, which was how it's all in black and white. And then we have the girl in red we know she's in red because it's colorized and she pops out amongst like the crowd. That's obviously really, really important, I think. Yeah.
I
So I have
noticed
to start.
that
I do have more.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And I think about the significance of the color red on top of the black and white,
Mhm.
considering the material that is within that scene where they're just pretty much being murdered right
Yeah.
there. So I immediately associated that the one in red, just the one little girl there in red, I immediately associated it with the idea of them all being murdered, like bloodshed.
Yeah. It's almost as if the blood is being shown on her through all the violence that's happening, because like we see her, she's never like really focused in the scene. She's always kind of like in the background. Like you can see her. Like I was watching through it and then I was like, wait a second, I rewinded and I realized from the very first like big pan out of like all the people on the street, like you can see her. She's just like, you have to look for her. And then that's kind of like, she's always kind of just there. And that creates like a very like realistic feeling. I feel like how like she's not centered, she is a part of the scene, but you have to look for her. And then the way there's like this constant like gunfire in the background while we're seeing this little girl like walk through like this chaos is kind of like oh, and I think something else I noticed, I think the color fluctuated. I think sometimes it was more red, sometimes it was very like clearly red, sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it was a little hard to tell. I'm not sure if that was just the technology, I'm not sure if that was purposeful, but I did notice that.
When she went under the bed, her coat turned gray.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was just thinking of that.
I guess that just means like kind of like the whole blending in type of thing.
I'm curious if it had to do with the fact that she went inside and she's hiding under the bed. So, in a sense, like not safety, but something as though like now she's away from what's dangerous, or at least for that moment. Now she's separated herself from the monstrosity going on outside.
Yeah, well, I did see because it was a little hard not to. I did, because you know when you like on a YouTube video and just like the first comments like peeking at you from
Yep.
like under the video. So
Mhm.
I did see this woman say, she was like, the girl's coat represents the blood spilled of the innocent. And I was like, well, I can't really like go into watching the scene not thinking about that now. So that was kind of like what I went into watching the scene thinking about, and that's kind of where I got the idea of like how when you like see her like in the background and you just hear like the gunfire and the people screaming, and then you just see this little girl in her red coat just kind of, and she very much like walks, when you see her, like you very much see like the very like image of like a child. Like she doesn't know what's going on, like you can tell she's just kind of like walking through it. And yeah, I think that's particularly like the way they have her like, she's not running around, she's like, it's almost like she doesn't know anything bad's, like she knows because she's hiding, but like the way her body language is kind of very, she doesn't really know how bad I think it is. She knows she has to hide, but I don't think she realizes. And that's very like childlike. That's very like what being a child is like a lot. Like you really don't understand a lot of things. And I think that was really expressed in that scene. Yeah.
Another thing I noticed is that like sometimes she was in like the in like the lines of people being like directed to go somewhere else, and other times she wasn't. Like sometimes she was being directed to go a certain way, but wasn't really all there. and it just would break off sometimes. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Yeah, I did. I think there was a shot where everyone was walking, and then you could see her in the background, like branching off and going inside the building. Like you could see her like directly like escaping those people. And that was when she like went upstairs and then hid in the yeah.
Oh,
Also,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, so go ahead.
Well, I was gonna go to a different point, so I didn't know if you wanted to like.
Oh, well, I was gonna go to a different point too, so
Oh, okay.
it's fine.
So like the song that they use in the background, like it's obviously like it's a children's choir
Mhm.
being used to represent the the girl, and just like the contrast between like a children's choir and like whatever was going on there. I looked up the song that they were using. It's like a Yiddish folk song, and it's like, and it being in a minor key also really like adds to it, I think.
Yeah, and especially that overlaid with the gunshots and the screaming is very powerful.
Mhm.
And then I think there's like two types of shots that they use, like especially like the very beginning. It's this close-up shot of his face, and they make sure you see the swastika. They make that very clear. And then, I mean, I guess if you were watching the whole movie, you would already know, but I just did notice that. And then it goes from that like close-up of his face to like this like long view of everyone in the streets and like this chaos as the Nazis come in to like take everyone away. And that, I don't know, I think that creates kind of like, I don't want to say like, I think like a power dynamic, I think. Like he's like looking down and he's like seeing, you could feel like the guilt in him. Or like, I
Yeah.
don't really, I've actually never seen the movie, I hate to say, don't really know what his character is about, but it's almost like you can feel he's like, oh crap, like this is
Like
this is
this is bad
yeah.
actually.
I think I noticed something similar. Actually, I haven't seen the movie either, but I think it kind of makes it a little bit more, I guess, immersive as like a point of like his perspective, like really like seeing what's happening. But I think it also like it shows like the scale of everything, like just how much is happening. And it's not like a very small, isolated thing. It's like very like it's across the entire town and like in multiple different parts of the town, and just like shows like a lot of like the chaos of what's happening and unfolding.
Right, yeah, because I think the shot shows like you get a little glimpse of like in different alleyways and stuff too. So you got like there are people being executed in like that little alleyway, and then like in the street, everyone's being rounded up, and then you like go back to like his like the close up of his face, and you see how like I don't have the right word, but like how I really feel like that like interaction between like the close up of his face and his emotions showing on his face, and then that wide shot of all the people. I think that's a really important interaction. But I'm not really making the connection right now. I'm kind of like, but yeah, if any of you understand that, I'd love to hear it. 'Cause
They seem to leave like regrettably. Like I'm pretty sure that they were able to see the girl, and like they like the wife was, if that is his wife, was just like we have like we need to get out. Like now they both, if she also saw it, they clearly like wanted to save like at least the girl that they were able to observe, but like couldn't. I don't think they knew where she hid. They just like, I don't know, had to leave.
I think I don't think she noticed the girl actually. That's, I mean, I don't know obviously, but just I think the way she left, I think more out of like this is like just like shock and just like disgust, and like she just didn't want to see like any more of
yeah,
what was
that's what
happening.
I was getting out of it too. Like
Yeah.
not even really like a, but
I
I
think
would
he
say
definitely noticed it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you didn't
But
cut
I
me
think
off. I've been talking a lot. I don't want to
Like,
like dominate the conversation.
not even just when you take in her dialogue, but also her facial expressions and like blocking again coming into the picture for mise en scène. Like and her direction, and she was saying things like, I remember her saying, let's go, like, come on, let's go. And she was just so distraught. You can tell that, like, she wasn't just didn't want to leave because, but you can tell she actually felt something, and that she was so upset. You can tell that she wanted to help and she just couldn't handle it, but she knew that even if she were to do something, that there really isn't anything she can do to really stop it.
Also, I think it's also worth noting that how they're both on horses. I think that that really creates like a power dynamic. It's really emphasizing that they, as the Nazis, have this like power, this like horrible power, and I think that's kind of emphasized by the horses, just the being on top of the horse. Yeah, and I don't know if I feel like, because I just feel like I know we as the viewers are seeing it in black and white, and then that one girl in color, but like he as the character, if I were like thinking like completely like literally, like maybe he wouldn't see her because he would be seeing everything in color. So I don't really know. But yeah, I don't know. I think he was just kind of taking in like the general chaos, and then we as the viewer were making a more like personal connection to the girl, I think.
Another point that I noticed is that, like, I don't know if horses were actually used in World War II, but if not, then it kind of represents like previous wars. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, no.
Well, the Nazis actually did use the horses a lot. It's kind of one of the reasons they lost, is because they just had a lot of horses. And I think it was added for like a good reason, because it makes the scene, I guess, maybe seem a little bit more like realistic. Because like this is a thing that they did a lot. I think also just many of the other like props that were used in the scene kind of make it seem more like a realistic depiction of like World War II and like the Holocaust and all the atrocities that the Nazis committed. So I think it was a interesting thing that they added.
so I'm like looking at my notes to see what else I wrote.
In reference to, I know that camera angle was brought up a little, and how the way it's positioned has, it can present like a power dynamic. I definitely noticed how the camera was how it was at such a high angle and it looked like you were looking down. But like, even if you're thinking about the characters, but then you think about yourself as a viewer, like and the viewer can imagine them looking down, and they feel as though they are in a higher position than what they're seeing, and knowing that they can't do anything. It's kind of like putting the viewer in the character's shoes. Like, this is what they're seeing and how helpless they feel to these events that actually happened.
Yeah, it does create a definitely like a feeling of like helplessness, and very like, if like it were like, I think it's a very definitely purposeful to not put the camera down there in the crowd with the people. You're not with the people in this, you're watching these horrible things happen as the viewer. And then because if you were with like a lot of movies, when they depict the Holocaust, they really like, they show you're in, the cameras down there with the characters in the concentration camps. Like I'm just thinking like I know this isn't like a great example, but in the opening scene of that X-Men movie where Magneto is like, he's in the concentration camp, like there's no like there's not like overhead shots, like you're like with him down there on the ground. And this is different, like this, you're watching everything happen, knowing that there's nothing you can do about it, and it almost makes you feel not guilty, that's not the words at all, but powerless, definitely. And
It
yeah,
did go down
it
towards
did
there
go down a
sometime,
couple times, but
but it
I
was
do,
only to like focus on where the girl was going.
yeah.
Yeah.
which probably like helped accelerate what she was supposed to represent with like the coat.
Hmm. I do feel that movie being in black and white while she's just in red, I do feel that there was some intention there because during this time they definitely were able to make everything else in color, but they decided to make the entire movie in black and white. I feel like there has to be some significance there. Like it was definitely an
Yeah, no,
intentional
definitely.
choice.
Probably because like I mean, like part of it could be that there wasn't color in TV back then, but I've also noticed that like sometimes people will like filter and use a certain aspect ratio to like kind of like what you would see on either TV or like I think in World War II they would show news at the cinema. So like it would kind of work like that.
I think there's also definitely something between like what colors and what colors like represent and how it becomes like harder when there's no colors to distinguish different groups of people. I'm not really sure how that, this is just like what I've noticed about black and white just in general. I don't know how that works in the like in this movie in particular, but yeah, I think
they're able
color.
to like oh sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm
Okay.
done.
Sorry. I think that they're able to like at least distinct like who is like in an like a uniform and who isn't.
Yeah,
But it also kind of looks like there's some people that are not in a uniform shooting at each other. I could have just that's at least what I thought I saw. So like I don't know if there was like supposed to be some kind of distinction.
Could be like, I think going back to what you said earlier, like kind of blending people together. I haven't watched the movie, so I don't really know what like it's about, but I think it could be like a thing of humanity and how like while like everything is happening to each other, it like at the end of the day, like everyone that's doing it is a human, right? And it might like, I don't know, just I don't know where I'm going with that, but I kind of just clicked in my head when you said
no,
that.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah, maybe like regrets or something.
I do think it's got to be a little more than that though, because then basically that would be saying like everyone's human, even the Nazis, which is technically true. Like they are human, but like, ew, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. That's like not, and I really don't think that's what he was saying. Not with the powerful imagery he was showing. He was really,
Mhm.
it's a horrible
Or
thing. So I just,
maybe rather like everyone's human, like what humans can do to each other, I guess, was like a different meaning of like the
I think
evils that we have.
that's
Yeah, I
onto
think
something more
worded it a
because
little bit poorly, but I think that's
I feel like the
kind of what I meant.
Holocaust has been, since it really started to people really started to find out about it, I think it's been like something that's always been like when you think about the horrible things people do to each other and that people can do to each other and that people are capable of, the Holocaust is like really like the number one thing that shows up. Like it was that horrible and such an like that influential in understanding, I guess, how evil people can really be. And yeah,
Yes.
I do get what you're saying with like the people being, it's like kind of it does emphasize that. Yeah.
And I was thinking about how when we're seeing these people being attacked, being shot, how they're just people on the street. We don't know anything about these people. They were just there. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They weren't doing anything to bring it on. It's just showing how it was literally innocent people, just people who didn't do anything to deserve it, as far as we know, and how they were all just attacked and how they couldn't do anything to defend themselves over it.
I mean, I think also like the black and white just makes it sad. Like it's not a happy
Yeah.
movie. So lighting kind of like if it was like really bright and colorful and like happy, it wouldn't have fit very well with the overall tone and like tone of the movie.
That's like a common theme, I think, in movies of like either switching to color to make things look more exciting or happy, and then like either going back to black and white. Like the Wizard of Oz kind of does that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense, right? Yeah. Okay.
I think well, I think it's interesting. 'Cause I think it's interesting. I think the Wizard of Oz used color too in a really interesting way, which is that there was no, like my grandmother saw it in the theaters when they didn't know that it was gonna be like it was like the first time movie had ever been color and they didn't know, and it starts off black and white. So like, and then they use the color to bring like this like dream to life, which really connects with the people in that time period when color on movies wasn't a thing and it seemed more like a dream than reality. And then like you see that and it's being used as like, so it's like connecting with people in a certain time period as well. Like now it works, it still works because of the way that the black and white contrasts with the color and how we as like our minds kind of connect those two things. But I think it was even more powerful back then when it was like, you know, that was like that wasn't even a thing. That was like they didn't know that was going to happen. They'd only seen black and white, and you know, so that's off topic, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that
I
adds to
definitely
it, I think.
understand what you're saying.
It's connection from film to film and exploring the reasons why people do it.
Right, yeah. You think we're good? Like, I don't remember how long this is supposed to be, but I don't know if I have any points left.
We did have some
I
very good
honestly
major
don't
points so
either.
far.
Mhm.
It was a short scene, and I'm just new to this, so.
Sure,
Short
yeah.
scene, but a very powerful, very impactful.
Oh yeah, very powerful.
Mhm. Yeah.
I honestly couldn't find as much in the Django one. I really couldn't. Like, it was a good scene, but like good acting, but I don't know, I just wasn't finding anything. I was
Yeah.
having trouble. Like, I really couldn't. I mean, I found, okay, one thing I did find in that, I guess we can talk a little about that if we're good, because we're kind of, I know we said to talk about one, but I mean, we can talk about like a little bit about another one. I'm sure she won't mind.
Won't hurt.
I did notice there's like in the back of DiCaprio, there's like this like statue, and it's depicting, like, I know I'm gonna say this again, it's depicting this like a literal power struggle. Like there's like these two men like wrestling, and this is when he's talking about like submissiveness in like the head. And I think that's definitely purposeful, and it's kind of just like out of focus behind him. That's really honestly the only thing I picked up from that scene. I really couldn't find anything.
I think also maybe his positioning at the table and how he's like at the head of the table and
At the table, right?
everyone else is like off to the sides and whatnot. But
Right. It's a Tarantino movie, right? I
yes,
think. Yeah.
very graphic movie.
Yeah, no, I've only seen the last scene where, and I was definitely too young when I saw that last scene when it's like the whole house is just like painted with blood, and I was like, but I love Kill Bill, so
It was a good movie. I actually watched Django Unchained like I think 2-3 weeks ago. It's a good movie.
All
Are
right.